guys, and welcome back for another video. So today we're going to be looking at 5 tips in meeting your white partner's family. She's got 5 tips that didn't work for her, but we're going to go ahead and watch them and see what she has to say.
Raised since I was in high school, and I'm currently 30 years old. I have had a lot of meet the parents, meet the family moments in my life, and I actually have another moment like that coming up really soon, which I'm very, very excited about. And so today I want to share with my fellow Black women 5 tips, 5 tricks, so to speak, that I have found to be super helpful in meeting your non-Black partner's parents or family members for the very first time. And as always, I'm focusing on relationships between Black women and white men because those are the relationships that I have been in. And I don't really like to speak to things that I have never personally experienced. And so without further ado, let's just jump right into the video. So the first thing that I always want to know when I'm meeting my non-Black partner's parents or just family members for the very first time, I always want to know whether or not my partner has let his family know that I am a Black woman.
You know what? That is kind of legit because in certain cases, there are family members that could be prejudiced, and that's even in situations with a Black family. You know, even a white man going into it with a Black woman should ask, like, hey, did you let your family know that I'm white? I mean, that's kind of an obvious question. You would hope that they would mention it just so that there's no big surprise, especially with the older generations. They still have some of those old school beliefs about Black people. I don't know why she's doing this, but it seems a little interesting to me, especially with like how society is going and pushing interracial relationships so much, especially between Black women and white men. It's almost like that's what you see in ads and things like that. So I personally don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's great when people of other races can see the beauty in each other. I was actually just listening to an audio book on YouTube called Fearing the Black Body. And basically it's about history concerning like the 1500s and the art back then and some of the depictions of Black women and how more succulent, rounder bodies were perceived, I should say, by society. And a lot of times the Black body was definitely uplifted as having the greatest proportion. More medium-sized bodies were preferred, not necessarily too thin, not necessarily too large. Black women have always been given that notion of, oh, you have the best bodies. You guys have the best curves. We have the curviest bodies. Not in every case, but when it comes to majority, that's what's true. But here's the other thing that I've also heard from the book, and some of you can even probably say that you've learned this from history books and from hearing it from other people. The Black face in general, like our features, were not seen as beautiful. Like the pointier your nose, the more refined your features, the thinner, I guess, your features are. You know, sometimes like the flat nose, the large lips, those are features that are not seen as beautiful. And so I guess, you know, in a sense, things have changed because people are definitely getting lip fillers and they think lips are more beautiful now. But body-wise, they were definitely desirable. So that's just what I was learning from that book so far that I was listening to. I'm not going to do a full review on something unless I actually listen to it all the way through. And so far, I'm intrigued. But yeah, that's just what I've learned so far. Anyways, let's keep watching.
That is very, very important to me, and it's important for a few reasons. So I have found asking my partner whether or not they've informed their family that I'm a Black woman to be really helpful because it allows me to see where my partner's headspace is and where their family members' headspace may be as well. And I've had this go in several directions. I have had situations where my partner did not tell their family because they didn't care, and so they figured that their family wouldn't care, and they were absolutely correct, and their family didn't care, and everything went along swimmingly. I've also had situations where my partner did tell their family members in advance and their family didn't care, but when I arrived, it was kind of clear that their family had done extra things. They had kind of gone out of their way to make sure that I would feel comfortable. And in that situation, everything went swimmingly as well. But I've also had situations where my partner did not tell because they didn't care, right? Like they didn't care that I was a Black woman. And so they assumed their family didn't care, and they were wrong. And their family was like noticeably shocked. In that one particular situation,
Yeah, that's not a good place to be in, especially when you sit there and you have feelings for the person and you're thinking like, well, what if we get married, we have a kid, are you going to be available to help? And then do you think that you would even trust them if they're already looking at you some type of way? What would they look at your spawn as? Like, ugh.
still went well, but it was just clear that like their family members were caught off guard. And then I had situations where my partner didn't tell because they were afraid, because they knew that their family members would be biased, and they knew that just that their family members might say things or do things that would make me very uncomfortable. And when the time came for me to meet their family members, they were absolutely right, and it was very uncomfortable for me. And I want to add that in those last situations that I mentioned, those were my personal cues, my personal markers that let me know at the time that it was time for me to exit stage left out of that relationship.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a red flag right there. You don't want to be stuck in a situation where you're dating someone whose family is going to be speaking ill of you every chance that they get. And that's exactly what it would be, because more than likely if they're racist, they're not going to give you a chance because they already have notions and preconceived ideas about you as a person just because of the color of your skin.
Because I'm not like, I'm a good person. I'm a nice girl. I'm a loving girl, and I should not be someone's secret. And I also shouldn't be a source of embarrassment for someone. So the second tip that I want to emphasize for Black women who are meeting their white partners' families for the very first time is to just be your most authentic self. Now, when I say be your most authentic self, I don't mean that you should, show up, just start swearing everywhere or be super sexually explicit and inappropriate. Obviously, treat the situation as you would when you are meeting any type of strangers, right? Like, be polite, be respectful. You're coming into someone's home, or you're going into like a restaurant, like you're doing something where you're entering into a space, most likely, that is not your space. And so you do want to just present yourself nicely, but you want to do that really in any situation, right?
I mean, yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Like, ma'am, you would pretty much do that in any situation. Like, does that even need to be said?
So like, that's nothing new. But when I say be your most authentic self, I mean truly be who you are, and don't fall victim or start trying to like tone down or dull down or mute your Blackness. Like, you are a Black woman, and Blackness is different.
Mute your Blackness? I'm not even trying to be funny, because people have said the same thing about me, but like, I think it's even more obvious with you. Like, ma'am, there's not a whole lot Black about your aura or anything, like, other than maybe your skin tone. Your general conversation, your word usage doesn't sound, even the inflection of your voice, like, you sound like you've definitely been cultured and around a lot of white people. I'm just not gonna, that's just what it sounds like to me.
For everybody. But don't feel that just because you're around a bunch of white folks that you have to change who you are. You need to feel comfortable in who you are. And if you don't feel comfortable, that's another point that we're going to get to, but that's a red flag in and of itself. And I do not believe in, especially as a Black woman, I don't believe in toning down or diminishing my Blackness to make myself more digestible for white people. I just personally don't believe in that. And so be your most authentic self. Your partner's family wants to get to know you for who you are. And you don't want to present yourself in one way that's not authentic to who you are, but they think that's who you are. And then later on down the line, they find out who you really are, and there's conflict.
Okay, who's already exhausted with this like point? Ma'am, just get to it. Who you really are, and who you really are, and who you really are. Like, dude, we get it. Like, just drop it and move on.
That arises because of that. So just be your most authentic self. Be who you are. Don't tone down who you are. Again, be polite, be respectful, but be authentic. And speaking of first impressions and wanting to make sure that you're polite, that you're respectful, that you're putting your best foot forward, I know that it's really tempting to want to just do the most, to make yourself the most appealing, the most alluring, the most intriguing, just the most, again, digestible and palatable. I understand wanting to do that. But at the same time that you are putting your best foot forward and you are trying to make a good impression, I really want you to focus. This is my third tip. I think this is my third tip. Pretty sure we're on the third tip. I want you to focus on, what do you think? What impression are your partner's family members making on you? Don't just hyperfixate on the impression that you're making on them. Really consider, what is the impression that they are making on you?
Definitely. Of course, that's how you're going to get along with the people. Like when you get to know people and you first meet them, you're obviously going to have either a smile or a look or something about something they may say or something they may do that just makes you feel already invited. And it's not even like they just reach out and hug you immediately or anything. It's just that maybe the way that they're talking to you and smiling to you or nodding or something about them is saying, I'm cool with you, I like having you around. But sometimes you can get that vibe where sometimes people are saying the right things, they're doing the right motions, but the vibe that they're giving you is still saying, I'm not interested in this, I really wish you weren't here, I'm just trying to be nice, or just tolerate this for the person that I'm in relation to. Most women have an intuition. I myself feel like I have one. My husband thinks that I'm tripping when I say that, but I just think that I'm really good at reading people behind what they say. You know what I'm saying? Because you can tell sometimes people's facial expressions, their body language, or the tone in which they say something, will be an indication if you pay attention. But anyway.
Now I want you to remember this. Your partner in some way, shape, or form is permanently connected to his family. You are not. You do not owe his family anything, especially in the early stages of you two dating and you getting to know him and you also getting to know his family. I know as the outsider, it's really tempting to want to just be accepted, to just want his family to accept you. And yes, again, you should be warm, you should just be loving and fun and your best self. You should put forward your best self. And at the same time, though, again, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for you to recognize and to pay attention to the impression that his family is making on you. Because here's the thing. Let's say that you and your partner, you fall in love and you decide that you two want to do this relationship thing for the long haul, for the long term. You want to merge your lives and you at some point maybe even want to create your own family together someday. Remember that when that happens, when you merge your life with your partner, his family, if he's close to his family, right? If he has a connection to his family is a part of the package. And so that means that those precious moments, those once in a lifetime, those moments that you will take with you to the end of your life, those precious, precious moments, his family will likely in some way, shape, or form be a part of that.
And yes, that is so very true. But at the end of the day, if you find a great guy who has all of the qualities that you love, but for some reason he's estranged from his family, would you really pass that guy up? I mean, when you really think about it, if all of your life you've been searching for these qualities in an individual, right? They have all of the things that you like as far as their personality, the way that they're living their lifestyle, things that they're doing right on paper. But maybe they just don't get along with their family, or maybe in some ways they don't even have a family. You may be even dating somebody whose family lives outside the country. Are you going to really not date them because their family may be untied to them? Even if it's a situation where he has to choose you over them, if you guys end up married, you're now his family. And the children that you have with him are y'all family. And you become a family together and you're responsible for each other. And that's enough at the end of the day. Of course, you will need your other family members, and thank God for the ones that are there for you and support you. But if they don't, it doesn't mean that you can't love the person who fits the criteria of the things that you want and need for your life. That just, because earlier it almost sounds like she said, you want to drop somebody just because their family makes you feel uncomfortable. And it's no, you can't base your relationship with another person on the family. Because the family has nothing to do with it. At the end of the day, who is in your household, who is under your roof, who you pay things with, that's who matters. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry to say it, because we do love our families and stuff like that, and it's not that their opinions don't matter, but it's just what's crucial for your life. If you found a partner that works for you and his family doesn't accept you, Well, does it matter? How does he treat you? Does he do everything else that he needs to do for you to make you happy? Don't pass up somebody just because their family doesn't work with you. I mean, of course you would want them to, but at the end of the day, sometimes you gotta rock and keep it moving. And I guess I speak that coming from an interracial child's point of view and feeling like my mother's side of the family didn't exactly reach out or try to have a relationship with us growing up. So now that I'm older, I don't necessarily reach out to them because as a child, like I said, I didn't feel like they wanted anything to do with us. Who knows what the situation was? Or maybe they just weren't concerned about family like that, like being close and having time together and spending time together, holidays and things just isn't important. I don't know. But that was not a part of my mother's side of the family tradition. And so I guess that's why I find this interesting, because again, I'm married to a black man and very happily so. And it has nothing to do with my husband being black. I just feel like I found somebody that meshes with me. You know what I'm saying? Like this whole black and this whole white thing, I guess as a biracial person, I'm just fascinated with it because I just don't understand it. When you're forced in this like ambiguity, you're just lost in it. Like you don't know what to think. So when you're looking at other people who identify and feel so strongly about something and they know, and other people around them verify what they are, like you'll have people that will say, yeah, you're a black woman, and I'll say, yeah, I'm a black woman, but then you'll have other people that like, you're not black, you're mixed. And it's like, okay, well, whatever, I'm mixed then, you know? So I don't know, to me, this stuff, that's why I keep talking about it, because it's so interesting to me. All of it is just, it's just baffling to me. I don't know, but let's keep watching.
So let's say that you and your partner decide to get married and you have a wedding. Unless you two elope, then guess who's going to be there? His family. You and your partner decide to have children together. Guess who's going to be there at the time of the birth? If not inside the delivery room with you, guess who's probably going to show up later to the hospital or show up later to your home? Guess who's going to be the person or the people when you decide that you want to go on a date night, you want to take a vacation, or you have some type of obligation and someone has to watch your children? Guess who the person or those people are likely going to be? His family. And his family, let me start over. His family members are also, due to their proximity, whichever proximity that you and your partner allow to your children, that proximity means that your children are going to be learning values, learning lessons, just going to be learning things, again, from his family.
And you know something? If you find a good partner, more than likely they're going to come from a good family. But it's not always the case, and hopefully you guys can come to a situation where you either have good family or you can find good babysitting service. It may be pricey, but at the end of the day, it's obviously a well worth it investment. Pointless to even mention, but I guess she feels to keep speaking on it.
And so it is so important that when you are meeting your partner's family and getting to know them over time, that you really think about these things. Like, yes, think about the impression that you're making, but also think like, can I comfortably build a life with this man, with these people, with his family members involved in that life? Because again, if he has a relationship with them, then it's a package. It's a package deal. And so are you comfortable? Are you truly comfortable with that packaged deal? Now, my fourth tip is to pay attention, to pay close attention. Be very observant of how your partner treats you within his own family dynamic. So let's say that he brings you over to his family's house, to his parents' house. How does he treat you around them in comparison to how he treats you?
Okay, so this is like yet another tip in which all we're doing is just paying attention to how we're being treated. Like, duh. That's like literally just one tip. You could just be like, pay attention to how you're being treated by all the different family members. Like, this is not rocket science, and this is not, you didn't need to make that a whole nother tip. Like, you could have just spoke on it in the last one. Like, it's evident that you're gonna pay attention to how you're being treated, whether we recognize it or not. We always pay attention to how we're being treated. That's what makes us, for the most part, determine whether or not we like people. When we come into contact with them on a daily basis, whether or not you quote unquote mess with somebody or not, is based upon how you interact. So if they're treating you fairly and you're treating them fairly, most likely you're going to be cool with them. If there's some moments where something goes wrong or you just don't feel like you're being treated in a positive way, then yeah, things could be going the opposite way. This is not tips for meeting the white partner's family. This is like how you would pretty much be in any situation. Because even if you were dating a black person, that would kind of like be technically what you needed to do. Because even if you were dating a black guy, he could still mistreat you around his family. There could be a situation where, you know, around his family, you're not important, even if you're a wife, you know? I mean, so you need to be, you know, concerned with that too. So I don't know, man. This is just weird. So she says that she's got a date coming up, I guess, in which she's going to be meeting the white person that she's dating family or something like that. I don't know. I've seen a few of her videos, and maybe she is just all about advice. Maybe that's why we haven't seen anyone make an appearance, and not everybody does do that. And I understand why, because I mean, we've all seen YouTube unfold, and for some people, when they're in relationships, boom, one day they're not. And it's kind of a sad situation, but some people choose to keep their relationships private, and that's totally fine. So I don't know whether or not she's in a relationship with anybody or not, but it's just interesting. It's interesting because I think I've reacted to her video that was done maybe a year ago, and it seemed like in that video, I want to say she mentioned that she was actually single. But she's like pushing this whole white or black women dating white men narrative. And to me, you shouldn't push black women dating white men. You should push black women dating good men that treat them well and who meet the qualifications and needs and concerns that they have for their life in order to build and to grow. Just like black men should seek the same thing. Like any human being should seek a partner that can help them grow and be a good person to them and treat them kindly and respectfully. That's something that any partner should have. Like, I mean, the fact that color is mentioned, it just, I don't know, for some reason it bothers me, because the way I grew up, when my parents told me the way they dated, it was about just them meshing and liking each other and whatever, vibing. It wasn't about like, oh, he's this sexy black man, or oh, she's this sexy white woman. Like, it wasn't like that for them. So this whole, I only date certain colors because of this reasons, like, this is all weird to me.
When it's just the two of you, or when it's just the two of you plus your mutual friends. What are the changes? Like, what are the differences? What are the similarities? Pay attention to that. And things to pay attention to, like, so PDA, for instance, I'm honestly not a huge PDA person, or at least not like an excessive PDA person. Like a hug, a quick kiss, things like that, hand holding, that's fine. But me personally, you know, despite having a YouTube channel, I'm actually a very private person. And so when I'm around my family with my partner or vice versa, I'm not going to be like overly affectionate with my partner, even though of course privately I am that way. So I just want you to pay attention though to how does that shift. Like, yeah, it's natural for your partner to maybe draw back a little bit, but like, does he draw back a lot to the point where when he's with his family, you almost question if you two are even in a relationship, or if you're just like the buddy he brought over? Or does it still feel as if, you know, yeah, he's trying back because he's trying to be respectful, he's trying to be polite, but it's still clear that I am his partner?
Okay, that's different for me, because what level of display of affection are you seeking? Because if a family member is coming over, like, I mean, for you guys to be sitting on separate couches and not cuddling and things like that, that's fine. I'm cool with that. Like, I don't need my husband to be all up over me 24/7. And the fact that you probably feel like he needs to be probably all over you in front of the family just sounds insecure and weird to me. Like, let him be. I mean, the fact that you're there meeting them and he's introducing you as whatever you are, and if he walks off and expects you to just chill with his family and talk to them and be cool, like, then that's what he should be able to do. If you guys don't talk for the rest of the night, like, if you're with family, you're with family. You got nothing to worry about. Like, you're supposed to be getting to know them in that moment. Like, I don't understand this. This might be why she's single and had such a hard time dating people and stuff, because it's like, obviously you're missing social cues. If your partner dips on you when you're around family, it's because he's trying to give you a chance to like talk to his family, or them a chance to talk to you, or a chance to him to talk to them more on a private level. You never know.
partner. I am his romantic partner. I am his woman. And again, if you notice that he is just trying way too hard to gain his family's approval when it comes to his relationship with you, or when you notice that he dramatically changes to the point where he either acts neutral or negatively around you and towards you when he's around them, those are cues, those are markers, those are red flags, those are...
He even acts neutrally. Okay, so yeah, if he's acting negatively when they're around, okay, yeah, that's obviously a cue. But if he even acts neutrally, so he can't even just be on chill mode around you when the family's around. He has to be constantly grabbing your arm or smacking your butt or something even when they're around. Like, chillax, lady. When you're like at home with family and chilling, like if he doesn't want to hold your hand, sit up on you and stuff like that when family's around, like that's okay. That's totally normal. Like, you should be trying to relax, vibe, talk to them, get to know them. I don't know. That's just me.
Are your notices that it is time to get out of there. And last but not least, when it comes time to meet the family, to meet the partner's parents, to meet your partner's family members, don't allow yourself to be disrespected. Like, don't just sit there and allow yourself to be treated cruelly, to be mistreated. Like, don't allow that. But also, pick your battles and pick your battles wisely. Again, you have no obligation to those people. He has the obligation to those people. And especially when you two are not married and you're just dating, you're just getting to know one another, like, you have no obligation. You don't owe them anything. You don't have to teach them anything. You don't have to educate them. You don't have to argue with them. You don't have to fight with them. You don't have to do any of that. And I would discourage you from doing any of that, because what is the point? You don't owe them anything. You are not obligated to these people. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you enjoyed.
Okay, so I don't really even understand what that last tip was about, but at the end of the day, what do you guys think? Was that helpful at all? Did that make you feel like you can go into an interracial dating relationship more secure and learned on what it takes? Did those tips help at all? Did they make any sense at all? Because for some reason, to me, those tips would work probably when you're dating just about anybody. Like, and the fact that we're mentioning white and black so much is just what's so fascinating to me. Like, we're all human at the end of the day. And yes, it's important to have some level of heritage and background to know where you came from. But when it comes to finding love and happiness, it should just be based upon who makes you happy, who makes you comfortable, who meets your needs. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully you can come into the relationship and do the same for them. You guys leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.